Hello everyone, this is Damon with Pixnub. In this video, I'm going to be doing a demonstration and tutorial for the AI-proof Watermark plugin. Pretty much everybody knows that AI watermark removal is a huge problem in the industry, so that's why I've created this plugin. I initially released this in beta release 6 months ago, and this is now in standard release. And what I can say is after 6 months of being used, I still have not been able to find any AI programs that can remove the watermarks. Now, sure, you might be able to go in with your GenFill tool and do one at a time in Photoshop, which would take a long time, especially if you use smaller shapes. But generally, for a one-click removal for parents who are seeing their images posted online, it's just not going to remove those. Now, with that being said, I want to set the expectations for what you can expect for AI proof watermarking and why this program is set up the way it is. So this program will allow you to add your own company logo or whatever like PNG overlay you want, and also add text, but those are not going to be AI proof. So don't expect your company logo to stay and the text you put to stay, but the colored shapes that are meant to protect your image will stay. So the whole purpose of this plugin is twofold, I guess. First is to protect your image. That's the AI proof part, and that is these shapes here. Now, if you put in like your company logo and some text, those will get removed most likely by AI software. However, what we have here, this watermark over the face, in this case, it's just a watermark over the face. And like I say, there's a lot of different ways you can configure this. I'll be going over all those in just a moment, but that will remain. So I guess the software is twofold. One is you have the AI proof watermarking part to protect the images, and then you have your branding where you can put your logo and some text for communications in there. Now, AI is getting very good at removing text. AI is good at removing logos and shapes and anything with hard edges. But what AI cannot do well is it cannot, let me go back to the defaults here, it cannot go in and understand that with these color overlays, especially if there's no hard edges, it cannot understand that, oh, this is not supposed to be yellow, it's supposed to be a different color. Or that over the face, this is not supposed to be magenta here, it's supposed to be a different color. And fix those colors. So it does not have that ability, especially when, like for instance, let's zoom in on these shapes here. There's no hard edges, so these colors fade. And in this case, it's using the color wheel, and there's just a lot going on there for it to have to repair. So the AI software is not going to be able to handle that at all. So what we're basically doing is, like I say, it's twofold. You get the AI protection, and then you also have your own branding protection. So those are separate items, if that makes sense. So with that being said, there's a lot of different ways you can configure this. And with the combinations of settings here, there's over 3,600 different combinations of shapes and colors and sizes and ways you can mask those logos. And then there's the random shape option too. So with all these settings, there's like I say, there's over 3,600 combinations. So I don't have time to obviously show you every combination in this video, but we'll just go over a few that I like here. Like one is the box over the face. I really like this one because like parents can see the entire image and decide if they're going to buy. You can still see the expression on the person, but there's no software that's going to automatically correct these colors, and good luck anybody trying to do that in Photoshop. There's also another one I really like where you can put just shapes over the edge. Again, it protects your image, but still allows you to really see the image as a whole. You can put shapes over just the subject. And in this case, just random colored circles over the subject. You can go the complete opposite way and cover the background and not the subject. And you notice the shape sizes are different. You can use any of the shapes, any of the sizes, and any of the colors with any of the masking options too. These are just a few examples that I chose. In this particular one, the whole entire image is covered with the color overlays except for the face, which again, this is a really good option because people want to see the face to decide whether they're going to buy. But yet, yeah, I mean, if they try to screenshot this, they'll get just a headshot, but they're not going to get the image as a whole without all these annoying colored shapes. And you can set the opacity of these too. You can make it very subtle, or you can make it very opaque so they can't really see through that very well. It's just up to you how you want to do that. Where was I at here? And then again, just another example of a different shape with just all red color, because like you've got all your different color options, which we'll discuss these more in a minute here. And then of course you could add in your own company logo and your own text and specify the locations of those. Oh, I'll point out too that you can run all this in batch. I'll demonstrate the batch mode at the end. I forgot to mention it, but there is a batch mode that you can run on a whole folder of images. All right, so I'm just going to do a demonstration for how to use this now. Let's just throw the watermark away here. If you ever want to get back to your default settings, you can click this Reset Settings button, and any of the settings that you've changed here, it's going to put those back to the default. And if you want to add a watermark, you just click the Add Watermark to Image button, and it adds the watermark as a layer above your image. So you could save this off as a transparent PNG image if you wanted to, and upload this to your lab to use as your watermark. And that's a perfectly viable option. The only thing I'll point out that if you're doing volume photography and you want to do the like face specific locations, I mean, it's probably not a good idea to upload this to your lab unless you know that the face is going to be in this very specific location every time, because then that won't align to the face. If you're doing something like a senior photo shoot or a private photo shoot, and you want to give the clients the proofs directly or through something like Zenfolio or whatever, then that's a good use case for using the face specific locations, because you could run this in batch. I actually like the random colors with this one in particular, with the face box. And you can set the opacity to whatever you want. But again, you could run this in batch, and the batch process is going to find the face, and so every image gets saved with the watermark over the face, and so you could give your clients the proofs that way. All right, so some of the other options here. I kind of got sidetracked. Let's just go back here. So here's your defaults. Kind of talking in circles here. I apologize for that. All right, these are not your defaults. I'm going to hit Reset Settings. Now add a watermark. Okay, so these are your defaults. You got circles with the blend color of color wheel. Now, if you want the ultimate protection from the AI engines, I found that this color wheel is ultimately the best, and that's why I put it as default, because there's just a gradient of these colors. Not only that, the angle of this changes. Like you can see, blue is on the bottom on this one, blue is on the top here, and I randomized that to make it even harder for the AI to learn. And then there's this random shape option. If that is unchecked, they'll all be equal size. If you put this on, they'll all be different sizes. So there's no one pattern that's the same every time. It's almost like a fingerprint at this point. No two will ever be the same. Different rotations, different shape configurations. You can change the size of these. Got extra large here. Let's turn the opacity up as well. And because I'll point out too that depending on the colors of your background is going to determine the opacity you need and also the color you want to use for the overlay. And then mask, this is where you could say, okay, subject only. That's going to take a little bit longer because it's got to run select subject. But yeah, so you've got just some color shapes just over the subject, which is how I generated this one with the smaller circles. And then if you were to choose the cover subject edges only, it would give this one, and then you could choose the different shapes you wanted and the size of your shapes to overlay. I could spend all day going over these settings, but I suggest just playing around with those and getting a feel for what you want with that. And again, make sure you understand what images you're doing and what you need for your particular images for colors. Let's do the whole image here. Let's like for example, if you have a white background or a dark black background, that's solid color, you probably want a lot less opacity, maybe like 20%. Versus if you were using 20% on something like this, because there's such bright colors in the background, you can barely even see the watermark. I'll point out too that lower opacity doesn't mean less protection either from the AI software. It'll make it less usable the darker or the less transparent you make them. But as far as the AI software to remove the colors, what I found is if you give it, let's go 100% opacity, it's more likely to see that as something that needs to be removed than if you were to give it a lower opacity. Because with a lower opacity, it just sees that as a slight color variation, and the AI software or the AI removal software is much less likely to try to remove something if the opacity is lower than if it's full strength. All right, so moving on, you can add in your logo and your text as well. So if you add a logo, it can be any image with transparency. It doesn't even have to have transparency, but generally you're going to want that. So you can do a PSD file with layers and it will merge those, or just a single layer file. And then you can choose the location of your logo. You can choose all of the corners or the center or the top or bottom. Let's just go top left here. You can choose the size of your logo. The default is small, that should be fine. But just play around with it to get what you want for your images. The opacity of your logo, and then your text. By default, I had the copyright symbol in here because most people don't know how to type that on the keyboard. So it's Alt 0169 if you ever need to type it on your keyboard, or an option on Mac. I don't know if Mac will do it, but I know on Windows it's Alt 0169, or you can just leave the copyright symbol in there and type in whatever text you want. Then there's some text color options. Basically, your text can be white, black, or red with different colors of strokes, and the default is white text with a black stroke, which is usually fine. Let's just go 75% opacity. The text location, this is just a percentage top to bottom. It lets you go 5 to 95, so 5% would be 5% from the top of the frame where the text is. 95 would be 95% of the way, so almost at the bottom. And 50 would be right in the middle. So this will give us the text line right in the middle. What I found too is if you feed AI something that has a logo and a text and these colored shapes, it's almost never going to even try to remove those colored shapes, because it's going to find your logo, it's going to find this text, and it's going to remove those, and it's going to think it did its job, because the AI algorithm is looking for just something to find to remove. So if it finds a logo and it finds a text, it's going to remove those and give you a thumbs up and say, hey, look, I removed your watermark, and it's going to leave this alone. Now, even if you don't have the text or your logos in there, I found these colors by themselves are still do very good to protect it, but I think it does even better if you have something in there to give it as like a magnet saying, here, come remove me. So again, the purpose of this software is not to protect your company logo, it's to protect the image. So don't worry if it removes your company logo. It just is what it is. We have to work with work around what AI is trying to do and make something that it can't remove, and that, like I say, is these colored shapes. So anyway, let's talk about batch here. So if you're going to batch, first thing you're going to need to do is decide on the settings that you want. And for this, let's just I'll just go with the colored circles, and let's go with let's just do something like this. Actually, no, I changed my mind here. Let's I want to do the face detection just so we can look at that. So let's do box over face, random colors. All right, let's do this right here. So you got your logo, you've got your text, and then you've got the colored box over the face. And then once you've decided on your settings, when you hit batch, it's going to use whatever settings you have here. So I've already got my folder selected, but you'll just go in and select the folders you want for source folder and save folder. Source folder will be where your images are. Save folder will be where you're saving. And then if you want, you can click on the process from subfolders if you want to process from subfolders from your source folder, which I won't do here. And then you just select your save format. So JPEG, you can change the quality. I'll just go 10. Then you want to close all your images, and then you can just hit start batch. So at this point, you can just walk away and let the batch finish up. All right, the batch is finished here. Let's just go in and just open these images. And you see that it's got the box over the face. Now the faces were all pretty much in the same spot for these images, but if it wasn't, it would have found the face location. You can see too that the colors on that box is random. It randomizes those each time. And if that's not the type of watermark you want, you may, like I say, there's 3,600 combinations for all of these settings. So I'm sure you can find something that's going to work best for your images. That's pretty much it. I probably discussed this for longer than it should, but hey, this is going to protect your images. I hope this does something good for the industry to help make everybody more money and to prevent theft. Thanks for watching.